Hello, everyone. My name is Victor Monga. I am co-founder of Virtual Testing Foundation. Today, I have esteemed and great friends as a panelist. So, Ruchira and Asta, they both are very active in community. They really believe in giving back to the community and sharing their insights, experience, skills, talents, and they've been doing a lot of great work in community. So, why don't we start with that? Ruchira, give us your quick introduction, where you work, and the topic we're going to be talking about today.
Thanks so much for that quick intro, Victor. And to the audience, hey everyone, my name is Ruchira Pokhriyal. I am a security specialist, and I also have some work experience working as a web application pen tester before I joined the domain of cloud security. And I'm really passionate about giving back to the community. You'd often hear me advocate for diversity and inclusion, specifically LGBTQ plus visibility in tech and neurodiversity. So yeah, if you want to reach out to me after this session, we will be providing you with our social media handles. And over to you, Asta.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you, Victor, for the lovely introduction. Hi, everyone. This is Asta Sani. And before moving to becoming an instructor, I was a consultant and I worked in domains like identity and access management, vulnerability management, and penetration testing as well. And I'm also the founder of Cyber Preserve and Breaking Barriers Women in Cybersecurity Foundation, which is a community which focuses on upskilling women in cybersecurity and help them walk towards the leadership journey and upskill themselves and move up in the ladder. And I'm really glad to be here today. And you can always reach out to me. We'll be sharing our details and how to connect with us on different social media handles. And thank you.
So today's topic is social engineering, and I know our audience is very passionate and focused for cybersecurity. And some of the folks I talked to, they already asked me that if social engineering is actually part of cybersecurity and how does it actually relate? There is no IT involved. There's no actual exploits involved. There's no IT vulnerability involved. So how does social engineering actually ties it back to cybersecurity or IT field, or why does it become a part of cybersecurity? So, Ruchira, why don't we start with this one? What is social engineering?
Absolutely. I think that's an excellent question because before we dive deep into how it relates to IT, we definitely need to go through our basics and ensure that we know what exactly social engineering means. So a very basic definition of social engineering is that it is an attack. However, it's not just simply any kind of cyber attack. It is one which is very serious because it deals with psychological manipulation techniques. And the social engineers or bad actors will use these manipulation techniques to exploit a very basic factor, which is human error. And this factor is exploited to gain access to sensitive information or anything which is valuable and should not otherwise be exposed. So when it comes to cyber crimes, these are called human hacking scams. And these scams will tend to lure naive and unsuspecting users into exposing data, as I mentioned, or spreading malware infections, giving access to restricted systems. And these attacks can not just happen online, but also in person, and also via other interactions such as SMS and phone calls. So social engineering is something that does not only happen if you are online. It is something which is so serious that if you're not aware of how valuable your data and your personal information is, you will fall prey to it even in person. And generally, a social engineering attacker has one of the two goals. The first one being sabotage, which is aimed at disrupting or corrupting the data just to cause harm or inconvenience. And the second one is theft, so as to obtain valuable information or gain unrestricted access or some monetary benefits. So the scams based on social engineering are basically built around how people think and act. And once an attacker understands what motivates a user's actions, they can very easily deceive the user. And plus, with the manipulation tactics, hackers also always try to take advantage of a user's lack of knowledge. So for example, many people, customers, employees, they aren't aware of certain threads that are very specific, like drive-by downloads, and how it should not be done and how it impacts you and your system. And some users may not even realize how sensitive and valuable their personal data is, like their date of birth and phone numbers. So oftentimes when that is given away, people do not think that it could be something serious because they do not know how valuable that information is. And that is another reason why many users don't even know how to best protect themselves and their information. So I think that's a very good start to understand what social engineering is, in order to tie it up to how it impacts the industry and our businesses.
That's awesome. That's very insightful. So I was reading Verizon Data Breach Investigation Report, and I see social engineering is actually impacting and disrupting availability, confidentiality, integrity, CIA triad that our security professionals they hone on. So if it is impacting everything, now let's talk about the width of that impact. So Asta, I'm going to point that to you. What are the impacts of social engineering for an organization or large organization or small organization? Where does it actually lands if we actually have to draw a line?
Definitely, Victor. So the point here is that when it comes to organization, it can impact largely, and it largely depends on how aware your employees are. And when coming to certain statistics, let's say refer to the Verizon data breach report, it has been found that since 2020, since the time of this pandemic, 77%, there is an increase of 77% cyber attacks in terms of phishing and social engineering, especially in central government and local government agencies, where it has been found that the educational awareness is less in terms of social engineering. So largely when organizations, they plan out their educational awareness programs around social engineering, they play a very, very vital role when it comes to becoming a victim of phishing. So 77% is a huge number, and that is followed by 76% impact on business and professional services and 73% impact on healthcare. And I think that's fundamentally the services most of the customers use in general as well, because healthcare is vital, government is vital, professional services are vital. And if we find an increase in such a great number, I think that's alarming. And specifically, as you mentioned, these attacks, they do not require specific vulnerability. So that's quite alarming.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it crazy? Like, so for social engineering, an attacker or the person who's actually trying to attack that social engineering attack, it could be in different forms. They don't need to actually have the full IT knowledge of it. They don't need to actually get into the vulnerability of it. They don't need to get into the exploitation of it. They're actually exploiting human behavior in a way where if I call you or if I email you that your kid is sick and then you need to go pick up your kid from school, but you need to pay it here so that we can take care of your kid or give you the medical care right away, or your taxes that we realize that we didn't pay you enough. Hey, click here so that we can refund you more money. So technically, humans are the element here. It's not the IT, and yet it is impacting the cybersecurity industry, because once the human vulnerability is exploited, now I can get your password, now I can get a username, now I can have you click on this link, which can point you to Bitcoin, now I can have you click on this, which can lead to ransomware. They both are connected, and yet they are not connected. One is human exploitation, and the other is pretty much computer exploitation.
Yes, totally. I totally agree with that, because these kind of social engineering attacks, either they have a financial motive or credential stealing, or at the same time, they are part of certain big attacks like ransomware. So either they can be initiation of a bigger attack, which can be a bigger breach, and at the same time, it can be something which can happen to you every day, happen to any employee every day, because it happens at a spur of a moment. You're working, you're very busy, you're in a meeting, you're talking to someone, and you get a call. And when you get a call, you are actually going inside a scenario. You're accustomed to a scenario where you just listen and you don't have much time to find out the information, and you just respond. And that's where all this fall into place. Like if you are an employee working inside the company or responding to people outside the company, a very major factor is how psychologically you're alert to these kinds of attacks. And when you find certain information, let's say via email or via other platforms, how you are responding to them without even thinking once, because sometimes we are like so sure of the data or information that we are receiving over a call, like pretexting, or in case of spear phishing, where you're receiving a random email, and that random email sometimes fall into the situation of your life. And one of the greatest example is like you receive an email from Instagram and it says that there has been a suspicious activity on your account. Can you please reset your password? And it's very well directed, it shows it comes from Instagram, but very like there is a very less chance that you will literally going to look at from where it is coming, or is there is any kind of simulation involved where you might see a right email, but that right email is not coming exactly to you. So you might see someone who is sending you an email, you see their name, but they are not directly involved in the email at all. They might be in CC, or the email is completely designed in such a manner that you just respond to it. And that's how it plays with the human tendency, because we are definitely the weakest chain in terms of security, because we are trying to protect data, but a very important factor is human here and human
Yeah,
psychology here.
I think I'm a believer of more of, instead of humans are the weakest link or the link in the chain, I think we are the most exposed and most exploitable in the chain. Because let's say to your point, right? If a social engineering attack or hack starts with phishing, pretexting, waterhole, don't matter how they started, but financial motives might not be there. They might not want my money right away. They might want something that actually give them access to either my bank account so they can do whatever the heck they want, or my company or corporation by attaching malware, or it could be a virus, Trojan, worm, spyware, don't matter what they're attaching to it. But we are the first ones in the, I would say, line of defense. And that's where we are the ones have to take the most hit. That's why I think we are the ones always taking the hit, and hence the social engineering is still on the rise.
Absolutely.
Why do you think they are so successful and impactful? Like, what are some of the popular types, if you will, for social engineering?
So for some of the popular types of social engineering attacks, one is pretexting. You're getting a call, and the call is, let's say, coming from your bank. It says like it presumes to be coming from your bank and stating that there is an attack or something suspicious. Most of the time, they now tell you that there is something suspicious happening and reset your password. So they themselves becomes the defense, and then they make you do things. And sometimes, let's say, I'll share an example here. One of my friends, she's into business and she get a lot of calls. She was on a call with a client, and in between she got a call from someone who was stating that that person is sending her certain amount, and that's from the business purpose only. And that call was so quick, and he just mentioned her a couple of instructions. She followed a couple of instructions on a payment app, and within seconds, like, she got onto another client call, and after an hour she found out that literally close to like $2,000 they are just gone, because it happens in spur of the moment. And first of all, one of the important things is they're not just targeting a set of people, they are targeting many. And this is one of the examples which is known as spear phishing. They are targeting random people with random scenarios, and one of them, thinking one of them or two of them or three of them will fall victim to it. Why? Because this might be something going on in their life, because the scenarios are urgent. There is a kind of urgency in those scenarios. There is a kind of care which comes with these scenarios, like you need to immediately take care of something, or is it something which is very urgent, or you need to act ASAP. So I think time is a very important thing here, especially in case of pretexting when you are on a call, or in case of spear phishing when you're responding to random phishing emails. Because when they provide you less time limit, you have less time to think and respond or ponder or think twice or discuss it with someone. And till the time you are in that position, your money is gone, or your credentials are gone, or any other information is just at stake. Many people are also receiving some threat calls.
I think that's what they're betting on, right? That's
Yes.
exactly what the adversaries are betting on, that you don't have time to think or discuss. You gotta act, and in their favor, whatever that next reaction is.
Exactly.
I think that's why we have so many different types of these techniques that form like a bigger phishing attack, like because the psychological manipulation part of a social engineering attack is to bait people to tailgate, pretext, piggybacking. So there are all of these different domains already that are set in the industry now, because they are trying to play on a human's trust. They are trying to play on the urgency factor. They are trying to scare users into giving away sensitive information quickly. So let's say, for example, very classic example is baiting, where you always try to put like a very enticing or curious offer in front of a user so that it's an offer that they can't refuse. So examples like, offering a few music download, a gift card, to try to like get the user to provide some kind of sensitive information that, hey, log into our site and you have a chance to uh, receive like $100. Texting similarly, the social engineer creates a fake scenario, pretends to gain your trust, and it's a very sophisticated kind of attack, because you need to be a trusted person to be able to gain that information. So in this case, a lot of people get calls like, hey, I'm calling from the IT department, and I have to monitor your account, give me this information. And having that vocal one-on-one with another person and still be able to disguise your identity, it's not an easy job. So like being a social engineer does not just require being tech savvy. I think the psychological manipulation part is where you need more expertise, which is why these days scam calls are so popular, because social engineering does not just happen on your emails. It can be done via phone calls. Even if it's not just phone call, you can easily trick a person using text messages. So you don't even have to talk to somebody. It's just that you have to form your words in a way that you are able to gain the other person's trust, even either by causing urgency or putting an enticing offer in front of them, and be able to get that sensitive information. So I think it's very interesting how a social engineer's mind works. And everybody in the industry, I think, especially people who are working in the domain of security, should adapt this behavior, that we try to learn how the bad guys think in order to make our systems a little more secure against social engineering attacks.
Yeah. Now that we're depressed, everyone who are listening, about the bad things and what it actually entails, like it all, like, I think, boils down to human error. It's much harder for businesses to be completely secure from these threats, because at the end of the day, we are humans. We are prone to mistakes. We are prone to errors. And that's what the adversaries are betting on. So now let's talk about what should our listeners, what should our audience should actually go in and read about, or actually prepare themselves, whatever that safety kit, if you will, emergency kit for these kind of scenarios. First, how can I prevent it? Obviously, that's our final goal. But if I fall for it, what do I do from there? So let's talk about that now.
Absolutely. So I think in order to like be vigilant, first of all, we have discussed what social engineering is, in a sense, but there are a few things that a person should keep in mind, especially if we are online. It's always important to notice that if you have received an email or a voice call or even a text message, if it's something that causes a sense of urgency, you should always take a pause and think before giving out any sensitive information. It's never a good idea to make those decisions in a rush, especially if it involves data which you should keep to yourself. And it is one of the most favorite tactics of cyber criminals, and that is to ask you to act fast, because there are some super deals that are only available for limited time. And some people will even tell you that you have only a few minutes to respond before this offer expires. And when you come across such situations, emails, calls, or text messages, it's just best to ignore them for the time being. And even if they're trying to cause some urgency, saying that, hey, we are calling from IRS and your SSN has been compromised, that has been, I think, the most popular phishing scam. And sometimes there will be emails or messages like, your account will be suspended unless you update it with your personal details, and the email will be, or the SMS will be pointing you to a link. So it's important to understand that the most reliable organizations, like Asta gave an example of Instagram account being disabled. Users need to understand that these organizations will give you ample time before they terminate your account, and they will never ask any of the users to update their personal details just like that over the internet. So when you are in doubt, always visit the source directly rather than clicking a link in an email. It's always good to double check. If you've received a message which says, your account will be disabled, it's better to take a pause, not click on any attachment which is present in that email, and rather just like call the source directly. At least double check with your peers if they have received something similar. The other thing to look out for as a precaution is, if you have been presented with something that gives you a sense that it's something that's too good to be true. So any kind of offers, any kind of eye-catching deals, anything that grabs your attention. So for instance, people may claim that you have won an iPhone, you have won a lottery, some kind of lavish prize. Do not click on it. If it seems like it's too good to be true, it's okay to be suspicious.
I'm excited when I get these emails. I'm really excited. I want to click on it. What do you mean?
Exactly,
I won something. What do you mean don't click on it? I won it.
And it's important to remember that, if it seems it's too good to be true, then it probably is. So it's like always better to not click on such hyperlinks, links that are taking you to potentially some other site. You would often notice that if there are some popular websites and you have received an email from that, they contain a hyperlink. Always look out for misspellings, because they will misspell either one letter in that particular email. And that's the thing, we do not look at things in so much of details. But when it comes to your account being disabled or somebody asking you to make a payment online, it's always is a good practice to very carefully see the URL which is mentioned on there, hover on it to see where it's taking you before actually clicking on it. Not downloading any attachments right away, always looking out for unusual senders, even if it's somebody that looks familiar to you and the email seems like it's something out of ordinary. And speaking of that, Asta has a very good example to share with all of us today, like how even if there is an email which seems like it's come from somebody that you know, but if the contents of the email seem like this seems a little odd and out of place, it's very important to not respond immediately. Take a pause and reach out to the source. So I think those are some of my tips to prevent social engineering.
I'll share a quick real story. Once I got an email and it was about, hey, I'm on vacation and lost my password. Can you send me the money on using Bank of America? And the bank off in this link, instead of O, it was 0. But in the text, it was showing off. It was, I almost clicked on it. And those were the red flags you just mentioned about, hey, where it's coming from, hyperlinks, attachments, subject, date, content. So I think they're really important, what the things you're bringing it up, that even though what it shows, you should really probably call that person that, hey, are you actually on vacation? Did you actually lose your passport? So I think it's important. Again, we often say that humans are the weakest link in this chain, but we can be the really strongest one and frontliners where we don't click on it. And there you go. Adversaries don't have anything to actually get into our environment.
Absolutely. I think like we need to start being a little more vigilant. It does not happen overnight, but when it comes to any form of emails, text messages, or voice call, which are forcing you to respond immediately, it's a very good practice to just pause and say, hey, I need time and I will get back to you, rather than just like giving out your date of birth and your SSN immediately.
I would like to add something here because when it comes to phishing, it means different things to different people. So, for example, different countries, different cities, they have different applications that they use a lot. So, for example, one quick example from Sophos phishing report is that the percentage of people who respond to phishing SMS are double in Israel as compared to Mexico. So, the number in Israel is like 60% and Mexico is nearly 23%. So, it's literally half of it. So the reality is when they target a specific audience from a specific country, I think this is the homework they are doing. They actually look for what specific application are being used more by the people so that their reach can be more wide. And that's where these attackers, they are going to find more victims. And these are the platforms people are need to be more educated on in general or in terms of corporates as well, that when you are responding on these platforms can be a way where you will find more phishing emails as well. So I think that also plays a very major role when we talk about being aware of phishing attacks and how we can take care. So for example, in your country, if people use more SMS, you have to take care of what SMS you're receiving and how you're responding. And typically, if in your country you use WhatsApp more, you have to be more careful on whom you're talking on WhatsApp, whom you're sharing your phone number and other details, because then that can be converted into a next level threat that like the attacker can play on the victim.
I think that's an excellent point, Astha, because based on as the social engineers are getting smarter every day, they're coming up with new techniques to trick people. Going to see, which part of the world is investing in what kind of applications and finding any potential ways to trick users on that application to reveal sensitive information is something which has been happening a lot. Another thing about it is that social engineers are very smart to identify what kind of age group out of all the people is a weak link. So let's say they are targeting old people in particularly because they might not necessarily be tech savvy. So, doing wishing on people who are a little older might result in better outcomes compared to people who are much younger. The younger generation, it's an assumption that they are more inclined towards texting other people. So they will fall as a victim if they receive a text messages. Most people these days are aware that they have to secure or stay secure online and securely read their emails, but not enough people are aware of the fact that you can be exploited via text message as well. Most people will think that, okay, if somebody is sending me this particular text message, they have my personal number, so it has to be legit. And we often forget that while we are online creating a Google account, while we are online working on a job application, visiting different sites, ordering food, if we are providing our phone number there, it's out there. It does not mean that everybody who personally known us has access to our phone numbers. And this is how social engineers do dumpster diving, get our information and try to prey on us via text messages as well. So it's a very good idea to make sure that social engineers are trying to trick different age groups as well and be vigilant about that.
100%. I think again, the theme of this session had been social engineering is real. It's happening at scale. So we gotta be vigilant about it. We are the first defenders in this line of defense, and we just need to take a step, take a moment before we click on things or respond to things. So as we wrap this session, Asta, anything that you want to give to our audience before we close it about your initiative of Cyber Preserve, how they can connect, what that initiative is about, and where can they get more information about it?
Definitely. Thank you so much, Victor. One of the last things that I want to say in terms of social engineering and phishing attacks is the companies, they really need to have a combination of trainings, which is human-led trainings and computer-led trainings and different phishing space simulations, which basically the employees can take part in, assess the impact, test the knowledge of the employees, what they are learning from these phishing trainings actually, and like kind of mock drills in terms of phishing as well. That would be a great exercise to know how much your employees are learning and where they are lagging behind so that the trainings can be specifically designed on those skills. And coming to Cyber Preserve and BBWIC Foundation. So Cyber Preserve is a cybersecurity mentorship program, and we give trainings to individuals who would like to transition their career into cybersecurity. And they can reach out to us at cyberpreserve.com. And on the website, they will see all the details of registration and how to contact us. And BBWIC Foundation, as I already shared, is a initiative where we are encouraging women in cybersecurity to not just join cybersecurity and stay persistent to the career. It's also about how to dream yourself to be a leader in cybersecurity, and how to have a strong circle of women who are there to support each other, be with each other, and upskill together. And for that, you can reach out to us at info@bbwic.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Asta. Ruchira, your departing words.
Yeah, first of all, this was a very interesting session. I'm glad to have this opportunity. So thank you so much, Victor. Two of my key takeaways from this session is that more industry leaders need to keep in mind that social engineering does cause a lot of harm, not just to your organization and employees, but also to your customers. They will lose trust in you if they suffer that kind of a data breach. It will lead to operational damage, financial losses as well. And if you feel that you are a victim to social engineering, it's important to report the incident immediately if you're a part of an organization, to your IT team, stakeholders, and security team. And if you're not a part of the organization and you feel like your personal information has been compromised, you should definitely file a report with Federal Trade Commission and US CERT. With that, I would say, BBWIC has been such an amazing initiative. I have personally benefited a lot from it. I'm glad to be a part of it. And like Asta mentioned, our overall goal is to empower more women to break into the tech industry and cybersecurity. It's not just that, it's a very safe space for us to openly discuss our views, battle imposter syndrome together, and have a lot of mentors and mentees here. And I think it's a very good circle of so many inspiring leaders. We would love for more people to join us in this journey. So thank you so much, Victor, for giving us this platform. And I hope we see more members in BBWIC soon after this.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you guys are doing, and I really encourage VTF members and the community to go check out your initiative as well. So with that, thank you very much for giving us insights on cyber security, social engineering genre, and some of the tips and tricks you shared, how to be vigilant. So once again, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Victor.